We'll move to recognitions. Tonight we have the Meritorious Service Award. Chief Parrish.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to stand before you tonight to honor two of our own that placed their own life in extreme danger to save the life of another. In May of this year, Officer Cazares was sent to an abnormal behavior call. When he arrived at the scene, he was met by an elderly citizen that said she thought her middle-aged son needed mental health treatment. Officer Cazares was originally told that the patient was not violent or suicidal. At the mother's request, he entered the residence and was led to the son's bedroom. There he found a very dimly lit bedroom with a patient lying on the bed. He turned on the lights only to find that the patient had a firearm pointed to his head with his finger on the trigger. And I'll remind you that the difference in suicide and homicide is very fast. Backup officers arrived and provided cover for Officer Cazares while he, in a very calm manner, spent over 15 minutes trying to de-escalate the situation and taking extraordinary efforts to prevent this patient from taking his own life. He remained calm and did things to calm the patient as well, to let him know that it was okay to do things like smoke, and even worked out getting a phone so that he could call his own son, the patient could call his own son, which led him to talk about his family and remind him of how precious life really was. During this dialogue, Officer Cazares was also able to discreetly let the other officers know on scene things like the position of the patient's trigger finger, and when he would tense up or things would escalate, he would use words to let them know. After about 15 minutes, Investigator Escalante came to the scene and volunteered to take the lead in negotiations. She had built a rapport with this patient by working a previous case. Once the patient learned who she was and that she was on scene, the tension somewhat lowered. However, because she was in the cover of the hallway outside the bedroom, she wasn't able to clearly communicate with him. So she took the initiative to place herself in harm's way by entering the bedroom where there was an armed subject so she could better communicate. A short time later, the two talked the patient into surrendering his weapon and took him into protective custody where we could provide mental health treatment. These two officers could have easily stood outside the room, pulled their firearms, and yelled things like, "Drop the weapon, drop the weapon." That would have only increased the danger. Instead, they used a calm demeanor approach, knowing that the greatest risk to the patient was he himself. These two officers are the reason this patient is alive and well today, and they went above and beyond to provide the love, the comfort to a person in desperate need. Their compassion, their professionalism, and their respect for the subject proved to be the life-saving ingredient that prevented this gentleman from making the gravest of mistakes by taking his own life or the life of others. For this, Council, I'm honored to present the Gainesville Police Department's Meritorious Service Award for a life-saving act for these two.